What's going on, guys? Winter Kills here, and welcome to a brand new video. Today I am super excited because we're finally doing an update for the Speedroid Kashtira deck. If you couldn't tell already, we got the green light on behind me. I've got the green shirt on. We're talking about wind attribute, the best attribute ever. And why are we doing an update? For those that are living under a rock, it's because Speedroid TERRORTOP has officially gone from 1 to 2 on the ban list, and Kashtira Unicorn, arguably one of the best non-Speedroid cards to ever have been printed, has also gone from 2 to 3. Big news for this deck. As many of you know, this deck has quickly climbed to the ranks of one of my top 3, maybe top 2 favorite decks I've ever played, hands down. Whether it's Speedroid Pure when we had Auroradon or Speedroid Kashtira post Auroradon era, I've been absolutely begging for the past year or so for TERRORTOP to come to 2, and it has finally happened, so I could not be more excited. I'm so glad that all of you are so excited to see me cover this deck again. I've been seeing a ton of comments lately saying, Winter, please, 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 let's get an update for Speedroid Kashtira, and we are finally here with that. Now, before we hop into the profile, I do have to extend a big thank you to the one and only Aerosol TCG. This list is heavily inspired, extremely inspired by a list that he sent me, because I think the day of the new list, I wanted to test this deck, and I was like, hey man, can you send me over a list that you've been working on just so I can get something to start testing with? And this list here is pretty much exactly the list that he sent me. So big thank you to him. If he was covering Speedroids on YouTube, I'm pretty sure I wouldn't be getting any viewership because everybody over watching his video. So I'm eternally grateful for everything he shared with me about this deck. And again, a big shout out goes to the mastermind behind this deck, who is Aerosol. Let's not forget that. And that testing went extremely well. I only dropped, I think, 1 match out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, I think I dropped 1 match out of 8 matches in testing against Vanquishal, Tearlament, Bestial, Runic, and Fire Kings. I played against those 4 different decks in a different amount of matches, and only lost once to Bestial, Runic, and that was honestly my fault. But this deck has been performing very well. I'm a little rusty with it still, but feels so damn good to be playing it again. And before we get into the deck profile, quick shout out to Imperium Duelist, guys. Check them out at the link below. Discount code, TCG Player affiliate link, and my Dueling Nexus creator code as well if you guys are interested. But with all that out of the way, let's hop into this damn profile. So getting into the main deck here, which is 40 cards, we're going to start with 2 copies of Card Turbo. A lot of the ratios for the Speedroid engine really hasn't changed that much, mainly because it just didn't need to. The ratios worked well in the past, and spoiler alert, they still work now. So 3 copies of Speedroid Card Turbo. Wind Extender, level 3 tuner. You can special summon if you control a wind monster, but you can only use wind effects, the effects of wind monsters, for the remainder of the turn, and its graveyard effect has got to be one of the most clutch things about it. Besides easy access to Baron, you can banish it in another Speedroid monster to make all wind monsters you control gain 800 attack until the end of the turn. It means Baron's getting up to 3,800, maybe over 4,000 with the help of Pressured Planet, Raysaw, so overall fantastic card. 2 copies of arguably one of the best extenders in the entire deck. That's Speedroid Tomborg. Nothing has changed here. This card is still incredible. I think it being at 2 is also perfectly fine. You can only special summon this card once per turn, no matter how you special summon it. Whether you special summon it with your own effect while you control a wind monster, or if you special summon it per se off of something like Double Yo-Yo, right? That's your one special summon. That's it. And after you use his tag out effect to summon a Speedroid tuner from the deck, he locks you into summoning winds for the rest of the turn entirely. Pretty big restriction considering there are a few key non-wind monsters that we still want to be able to summon in this deck, like Dawn Dragster, you know, Fenrir, and Scareclaw Kashtira. SP Little Knight also being one of them now. But yeah, fantastic extender. 2 copies of Den Daiko Duke. The only reason I'd ever play one is if I was going second. I'd typically side one of these guys out because this is arguably the last thing I want to draw going into a big board, whether it be a combo deck or a control deck. I want to see side deck cards, not Den Daiko Duke. And yeah, if you're not drawing your side deck cards, right, the game's going to be over pretty quickly. So the grind game where having a second one of these comes up is probably not going to come up in most of those cases. But yeah, banish him to summon a Speedroid tuner from the hand or grave that's not Denden Daiko Duke, being a level 3 tuner himself, to pair with your Kashtira cards, getting in again into those early Barons. Super, super clutch. And then we have one, just kidding, we have 2 copies of Speedroid TERRORTOP. I know Avert Your Eyes from the High Speed Riders original First Ed Super Rare. I will be trying to procure a second Ultimate Rare German copy to complete, you know, the max rarity German Speedroid core. I will admit I was caught lacking by the new ban list. I should have bought a second one of these months ago, even my playset months ago, but, you know, just honestly me being lazy, I'll totally own up to it. I'll get a second one and a third one soon, don't worry, because it is going to come back to 3, believe it or not. Mark my words. But yeah, I mean, I think I've seen a few lists. Like I've seen very little lists. I think maybe like 1 or 2. I think I've seen one list in particular that was only playing 1 of these still, even after 1 to 2. I literally do not see an argument for not playing 2 of these. You're increasing the consistency of the deck. We now have another fantastic starter card in the deck, which, if I'm being honest, the Speedroid deck has always kind of lacked, whether you're playing the Kashtira version or you're playing the pure version, right? You have so many normal summons in the deck, and that tends to be one of the deck's biggest issues. And TERRORTOP in of itself isn't always a normal summon, which is incredible. So I don't see why you wouldn't want to absolutely max out on TERRORTOPs. Again, it's consistency, and it's also giving you better grind game now, because those late game rubber band shooters can be a little bit better. Even if we've already gone through our double yo-yo TERRORTOP play, we still have that 1 TERRORTOP left in the deck. And it has kind of prompted me maybe to think about playing, like, I don't know, a second double yo-yo, but that might be a little too extreme. I think the chances of drawing multiple double yo-yos is something I do not want to deal in, because I've already drawn that card enough as is in my short time revisiting the deck, and it always feels bad. So yeah, 2 TERRORTOPs. I think you'd be crazy not to play 2, but if you want to play 1, by all means, go ahead. Then moving on, we have some 1-ups here for the Speedroid engine. The last 2 cards in the Speedroid engine, I believe, yeah. Last 2 cards in the Speedroid engine. We have 1 copy of Fukimadoshi Piper. The whole reason why we even consider mixing these 2 archetypes together, one of the reasons why the Speedroid engine is so incredibly good, and one thing that I think that gets overlooked a lot of times when it comes to the Speedroid engine, is Fukimadoshi Piper. This card is literally crack. We're already playing things like Pot of Prosperity, but how about an in-engine Pot of Prosperity that you can use pretty much every single turn? Goes in matches at 1, no problem. We'll dig 11 cards deep during our turn, and we'll try to find that goes in match if we need it. Same thing with Anti-Spell, Droll and Lockbird, Solemn Judgment, Harpy's Feather Duster, Triple Tactics Talent, you name it, right? We're going to try to dig for it with this card right here. It's a level 4 tuner, which pairs well with our level 6 synchros that we play, allowing us to climb into Baron. It's extra link fodder for Doom Eagle, for SP Little Knight. It has a cool graveyard manipulation effect, which comes up every once in 50 years, it feels like. But, you know, be able to drop a level 3 or higher win by 2 levels can sometimes come in clutch. And then we have the 1-of Double Yo-Yo. This card is still fantastic. You definitely want to play it. It's one of your most powerful plays, is revealing Double Yo-Yo and TERRORTOP. Still, again, one of the best plays if you're going just off Speedroid combos with Rubber Band Shooter. You want to be able to have Double Yo-Yo in the deck to be able to secure that guaranteed TERRORTOP. Yeah, both level 4s. Honestly, the only thing about that would make this card better is if it was maybe a level 3. Maybe if it was level 3, but we'll take it being a level 4. So yeah, that is it for the Speedroid cards. I guess maybe not, because I would still argue that this guy right here is, I consider him an honorary, Speedroid card here in the Mecha Phantom Beast Tether Wolf, mainly because Mecha Phantom Beast is just not really a deck right now, and I don't think it's been for quite some time. So the Speedroid archetype will gladly adopt Tether Wolf here when it is normal summon. Mandatory effect, special summon a level 3 token. While it's got the token, can't be destroyed by battle or card effect. When it attacks, it contribute off the token to make it gain 800 attack. boosting it up to 2,500, which is kind of relevant considering some matchups. There are some floodgatey monsters maybe you want to crash over with the help of Tether Wolf. And it also gains the level of all Mecha Phantom Beast tokens currently on the field, right? The level of those tokens. And the token that it summons a level 3, which, 4 plus 3 is 7, right? So that makes it a level 7, which can pair with our cash cards to get into things like Draco Sack. It can also allow us to easily make Baron, or even on its own in the most simplified state, it is a 1-card rubber band shooter. And that is honestly one of the best things about it, because it does not burn any additional Speedroid extenders to get into the rubber band shooter. It was one of the best things about something like, let's say, Speedroid Ultra Hound. One of the reasons why I love that card so much is because it did allow you to get into rubber band shooter without burning extenders in the hand like Car Turbo or Tekatomborg. That was one of the main issues with Marble Machine. But this card, kind of just outclasses the Ultra Hound, because we do not have to play Duplicate, even though I love Duplicate. And I know some people have been asking, hey, can you do like a more pure non-cash Speedroid deck profile at some point in the future? And I would like to try to deliver on that. I can't guarantee how fast that's going to come, because I just really like playing the Speed Cash variant. And I think with a lot of the reprints available, the deck has become a little bit more accessible. So if you're on the fence about playing Speedroid Cash here and you're a very pure, minded player of this deck, definitely give it a shot. I would probably continue to play the deck the way it is until something like Auroradon comes back, because I think that is the ultimate chokehold when it comes to playing the deck with and without the Kashtira cards. Even though if Auroradon came back, I'd probably still be playing Kashtira Unicorn in the deck. And maybe some other cards alongside it, because they're just custom cards. Sometimes the Kashtira cards literally win you the game on their own. And speaking of Kashtira cards, we have our first Kashtira monster, which we do play 3 of now. Thank you to the new ban list. 2024 is going to start off with a bang. We did have 2 for the better part of this deck's existence, but now we are so back with 3 copies. And again, it's mainly just a consistency boost at the end of the day. Seeing Kashtira Unicorn in the opening hand has never felt so good. It's great because it can search out Birth. It's a wind monster that hits the field without burning your normal summon. It's a level 7, which pairs with the suite of level 3 tuners that we have in the deck itself, right? So that can get easy access to Baron. Birth can bring it back, which allows us to continue to extend into things like Rubber Band Shooter and make better boards that are protected, at least insulated from one hand trap, thanks to Baron. And ripping cards out of the opponent's extra deck is still really good. A lot of people have forgotten about Unicorn. A lot of people are on that, the double Zeus in the extra deck, playing 2 ofs of very important cards in their extra deck. But now that Mr. Arise Heart has fallen completely off the face of the earth, I feel like a lot of people, myself included, have kind of changed their deck building a little bit to not have to worry about their extra deck getting ripped entirely to shreds. But when they play against our deck, they're probably still going to have to worry about that, because we're still on the old Kashtira Unicorn. Not mainly because of, we're playing cash, but, it's just a great Speedroid card, essentially, is what it is. Then moving on, we have 3 copies of Fenrir. I mean, this is just, like, the best card in Yu-Gi-Oh! Right now, if I'm being totally honest. Like, even if you see Fenrir on its own, with any way to Speedroid combo, it's still, just a great piece to the end board. It's still a fantastic going second card. It searches out Unicorn for follow-up, or it searches out Scareclaw Kashtira to extend with, depending on what else is in the hand. And I was playing, I think, Kashtira Rise Heart, level 4 Rise Heart, in this deck before, and that was when Unicorn was at 2. And it was nice because it did allow you to make Fenrir like 1-card Speedroid combo. But now that we have like 2 really good kind of like starters added back into the deck's gotten a lot more consistent, especially keeping it at 40. And I feel like that was necessary then, just because the deck, could brick a little bit more, and it made, seeing that not Fenrir, but seeing just Fenrir on its own allow you to still combo was nice. But again, now that the deck has gotten a little bit more consistent with the help of those 2 cards coming back in the deck, I feel like it's not really worth running the brick. Although, if you've been playing this deck nonstop since that point and you still like playing Rise Heart, then by all means still, I won't tell anybody to like, not play it. It's objectively wrong to play it. I just think right now, if you were going to cut the card to put more non-engine in, this would probably be the time to do it. So yeah, that's it for the Kashtira monsters. No Rise Heart. Then we're playing 3 copies of Pressured Planet Rates Off. Again, just more copies of all of the cards we just looked at, and the attack and defense boost is just low-key one of the best things about this card. And then 1 Kashtira Birth. This is a card that if I would bump up to 2, I wouldn't really be upset with that choice. I think having a second copy for that other late game unicorn to be able to search is kind of nice. But also drawing Birth on its own with no Kashtira cards also really, really sucks. So it's just like a balance between that. Like, do I want that second copy that occasionally comes up to be able to grab that security of having in the deck, or do I also want to add in the chance of just drawing this on its own with no cash cards and then have it just being kind of awkwardly dead, right? That's the trade-off. You kind of got to balance those two things. Then we have 3 copies of Pot of Prosperity, making the deck even more hyper-consistent. Really nothing else to be said there. Then moving into the non-engine, which is one of the appeals. Look at the stack of non-engine I have in my hand here. You see that? There's a thick stack of non-engine, and that's not including Fenrir either. That's one of the things I love about this deck, is it's very consistent with its engine cards, and there's lots of room for non-engine, which coming from Infernoble, which kind of struggled with that. You know, in that department, this is very refreshing. So real quickly, we'll run through the non-engine, where we have 3 copies of Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, 3 copies of Droll and Lockbird, 2 copies of Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit. I think this card is honestly kind of overlooked in the format right now, but also it's still kind of early. You know, the ban list still hasn't even officially gone into effect yet, so the hand trap lineup is bound to change as things goes on. But Ghost Ogre for the Horus engine, I think, is actually kind of a very heads-up thing, and I did not mind playing this and all that testing that I've been doing. I thought I would maybe not like this and want to change it out for something else, maybe like Effect Veiler, but I am a big fan of Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit. It's also a level 3 tuner, which is nice for our sake. 3 copies of Enemy Controller. This card still goes absolutely insano style, and we have 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence. Yeah, just also one of the best hand traps right now in the game. And that is 40 cards, and I believe if you add the Fenrirs on top of that, that is 17 non-engine. Now, moving on to the extra deck, I would like to preface this by saying there are some things in here that you could definitely change around, and it really depends on kind of where my testing goes with the deck, but this is kind of like a rough draft, if you will. You notice a lot of it will look still pretty similar to the last time we covered the deck. Still 2 copies of High Speedroid Rubber Band Shooter. This card is amazing. Banish a Wind Synchro to reveal 2 Speedroids from the deck with different names whose levels equal the monster that you banish. One randomly comes to the hand, the other goes to the graveyard. And once you can get additional normal of a wind monster, but it locks you into the synchros for the rest of the turn. Important thing to note is that you can use that to additional normal, something like Unicorn per se, and then Unicorn can contribute off Fenrir, contribute off Rubber Band Shooter. Unicorn can grab Birth, Birth brings back Fenrir, and there you go, you're kind of already back into your engine. So just incredible card. 1 copy of Wind the Wind Charmer Verdant. Not a crucial piece in the extra deck, but it's still nice to have a card like this just because Droll and Lockbird is going to continue to be in people's main and side decks, I think, even as we go into the new format. SP Little Knight. This card, in my own personal testing, I really have rarely summoned. But you know, maybe I'm just not doing things correctly, right? I'm sure I'm missing some lines, especially new lines that you can use to link into this. And then 1 copy of Hraesvelgr the Desperate Doom Eagle. This card actually just fucking slaps against Fire Kings, I'm not gonna lie. This card is absolutely crazy. I played against Fire Kings a couple times, and this card literally just carries the match. Just shuffling I think it's like Pollux back into the deck every turn is just almost unfair. But you can also play IP Masquerade. I know that's something that Aerosol was playing for a little bit. There were some lines where you could end on like IP, like Fenrir and some other stuff, and then you could quick link into SP. But I think Doom Eagle is still a really, really strong card this format, and definitely worth playing. For our level 6 synchros, we have still Juju, Virtual World Beast, we have the Stardust Charge Warrior, and yeah, only 2 level 6 synchros. I thought we were playing 3, but no, we're still playing 2. You could play Raptite, but I think Doom Eagle is just a better Raptite overall. I think these 2 are far better as level 6 synchros. FA Dawn Dragster for our first level 7, still part of the normal end board, Baron, Fenrir, and Dawn Dragster. Wind Pegasus at Ignister, spell trap removal, and a great secret effect in the graveyard if your opponent clears something in the battle phase or via card effect. Next up we have Fast Dragon, just a really nice, simple piece to the end board. extra deck monster negate, and we have 1 copy of Clearwing Synchro Dragon. This card is actually still really nice against certain matchups that really have a bunch of level 5 or higher effects. I think one specific example I could give would be like Dragon Link. This card is absolutely insane against Dragon Link. You have a level 5 or higher monster effect that wants to activate in the field? Nope, I'm negating and destroying it. You want to target a level 5 or higher monster I have on the field? I'm negating and destroying it. Right? If your deck is level 5 or higher, Clearwing Fast Dragon, or Clearwing Synchro Dragon, he hates you, right? So definitely don't sleep on that card. It might not get summoned all that often, but the times it does get summoned, it really does go in. Not 1, but 2 copies of Baron de Fleur. Thankfully, this card is a super rare now, so anybody who couldn't play this deck before because of the price barrier, you now can, which is super awesome. 2 Baron is definitely more than necessary. You go through these a lot. When the first one gets outed, you need to be able to follow up with the second one most of the time, especially since it's so easy to make with the Kashtira engine. 1 copy of Mecha Phantom Beast Draco Sack. Again, shout out to Aerosol for sending me this Japanese copy. Beautiful ultimate rare. This is a card you do make quite a bit. Your normal cash line, which is Fenrir Unicorn, you go into this. You get your birth set up, you summon 2 tokens, you link off a token and Draco Sack and a Rubber Band Shooter, and then you reveal Duke and Piper, go from there, and then try to set up your normal end board. But this is great just because it generates tokens, it uses level 7s, it all works together very, very well. And then 1 last copy of Divine Arsenal Zeus, just because there is still a fantastic, I mean, chef's kiss Zeus line with this deck, with Mecha Phantom Beast Draco Sack into Zeus. Use Rubber Band Shooter's effect to gain additional normal chain Zeus, right? Wipe the field, normal summon your yo-yo in ideal situations, and keep comboing if the board has been completely cleared. There is some room here. You could possibly play things like Typhon. You could play IP Masquerade. I think these 2 cards here are probably the most cuttable and like the flex spots of the extra deck. Everything else, honestly, in my opinion, is pretty rock solid. I guess you could also go so far as to say SP Little Knight. I think these 12 cards here in my hand are pretty solid and mandatory, whereas these 3 cards, you probably have your most room to kind of change things around. Now, lastly, we'll jump into the side deck really quickly. Shout out to the best field center ever made, where we have 3 copies of Dimension Shifter. I never thought I'd see the day where I'd be siding this card. As soon as I saw the list from Aerosol, I was like, we're siding D-Shifter? But honestly, it makes a ton of sense. This deck really doesn't care too much about D-Shifter. While it definitely can, it can hurt the grind game quite a bit. We play a lot of Kashtira cards, which inherently thrive under this type of effect. So if you open up a hand with heavy Kashtira cards and you shift your opponent, you know, you're just playing cash at that point, and you can just summon Barons out of nowhere, and Birth still is crazy under this, and you don't need access to your graveyard really to synchro with your Speedroid cards a lot of times. Sure, everything will just go to the get banished anyways, but you know, you can still kind of establish things like Baron, Fast Dragon, etc., etc. So 3 copies of D-Shifter, 2 copies of Pankratops, now at 2. This card is great, not only just for going second, but it's a level 7. It's one of the best pieces of synergy that it has. So it can also kind of function as engine with Tether Wolf or any Kashtira cards. 2 copies of Bell. This card, I think, was Dark Ruler before, but I decided to put in Bell mainly because, again, it's just fantastic against Labyrinth, which went untouched, and kind of upset about that considering how crazy that deck is going to be in the upcoming format. So I think adding in Bell is definitely great. You could easily side out the 2 Ghost Ogres in the main deck for both of these going in against that deck. 1 Duster, 1 Talents. There's probably room for like a Triple Tactics Thrust package in here, but too rich for my blood to get my hands on that card right now. So I'm just playing 1 of each of these. Very fantastic, kind of good one-ofs, and again with Piper and Prosperity, we can kind of see these cards a little bit more often than we ought to. Then we have some Solemn Judgments here for going first. 2 copies of Anti-Spell Fragrance, again for going first. And last but not least, 1 copy of Gozen Match, because, yeah, it's at 1, but we're still going to play it, because the amount of times that I've revealed this off of Prosperity or gone into Piper, which gets Prosperity, which digs into this and then seals the game. So incredibly good. Yeah, fantastic card, and we're still gonna play it at 1, of course, no doubts about that. But that is gonna do it for this quick update here for Speedroid Kashtira. Super excited to play this deck. Yeah, and if you guys haven't seen how this deck kind of combos, I think I've done a few test hand videos on the channel where, you know, the core idea and play style of the deck really hasn't changed too much with the advent of the newer cards that we've gotten back into the deck, thankfully. But I will do updates, you know, to like kind of like a combo video, maybe dedicated combo video, and of course locals POV matches as well coming your way. But yeah, that's going to do it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. As always, Winner Kills signing out. We'll see you guys in the next one. And like always, a big thank you goes to our current Divine level channel members who are Pony Star, Cadillacs, Green, Misfit, and HCH Cyber. Thank you guys so very much for your extremely kind and very generous support of the channel.